Hi, my name is Hannah Kasparian. I'm a registered dietitian and a chef. I am going to talk today about mindfulness of eating and cooking for the newly diagnosed. You have to educate yourself, whether it's from, it's outside sources if you need help from a dietitian or a doctor. So many people have diabetes that websites are an amazing way to fit, there are chat rooms and support groups and cookbooks. And so first is educating yourself about just general healthful eating. I mean, it shouldn't be something that's scary and that you feel like you can't ever eat anything ever again. This is a complex carbohydrate, which is fiber. Things that are high fiber have a lower glycemic index, which is really good for people with diabetes because it takes a lot longer for your body to process. The longer that takes, the more evenly it distributes glucose in your body, in your veins. A lot of people, when they're first diagnosed with diabetes, think that they're not ever gonna be able to eat carbohydrates or grains ever again. And because most people equate grains with gluten and whole wheat, they think that they have to cut out gluten and have a gluten-free diet. That's not necessarily the case. People who have celiac disease are not supposed to eat gluten because they have an intolerance to gluten. But just because you have diabetes does not mean that you need to cut gluten out of your diet. I think an important thing for anybody, regardless of having diabetes or not, is to be mindful about how you feel after you eat something. And that's the only way, because doctors and dietitians can't tell you how you feel. You have to know that when I eat X, this is how I feel. And the fact that you monitor your glucose means that you're even more mindful and need to know how something affects you. When I was in 4th grade, my friend was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We were very close, and we all hung out all the time. And I pricked my finger to test my own glucose when I was, in 4th grade, just to see how it felt to her. So, if anything, I feel like I just became just aware and watching the experience that she was having. My grandfather did have it. He was diagnosed. It was not too long after, probably. But my grandfather was, World War I veteran. But he ate a lot of sugar-free stuff. And again, I think that was probably the late 90s. But, since then I've learned a lot about sugar-free stuff too, and that's not necessarily a great thing to do to your body either. So I've been around, I've been around people who are both young in elementary school who are finding out, and my grandfather who, had to change his ways as well. It forces you to have a lifestyle change and become more mindful of what you put in your body. So there's a really efficient way to cut an onion. So you cut off both sides so that it has two flat sides. And peel off the first the skin. So onions already have a natural rings. You want to take advantage of those rings. So cutting it in half, keeping your fingers out of the way. And then it naturally is diced for you. And it makes me cry. I think that it's important when changing your lifestyle and changing how you're eating, as I'm crying, is to be open to the possibility of eating different foods and trying things and trying them with different cooking methods. There are just so many different ways to cook things and different methods. Boiled broccoli is not the only way to eat broccoli. There are so many ways to develop flavor, and for anybody changing lifestyle at for any purpose, it's important to just be open to cooking and learning and finding out different ways to manipulate the ingredients. Food is such a visceral experience, from emotion to how it makes your body feel, every aspect. When I'm counseling somebody about changing their diet and becoming and changing their lifestyle, I am usually very adamant against someone changing or having going on a diet. Changing one's diet is very different than going on a diet. Going on a diet usually requires the books, tell you to change all of these things all at once. Cut out this, cut out that, add this. It's so dramatic and so drastic that it tends to leave people confused and in the dust. And then it's more likely that somebody is going to just go back to their old ways, even if it makes you feel bad. So when changing your diet and changing your lifestyle, it's incredibly important to baby steps into it and to start changing little things at a time, so that not only is it good for your psyche and it'll last longer and it'll make you accustomed to your new ways, but it also allows you to understand the food that you're changing. You start to learn what goes into something and how much of it goes into something. And then you can alter recipes that you love, but make them more diabetes friendly. Let's say you love pasta. You've become diagnosed with diabetes. You don't want to change the fact that you wanted to have spaghetti and meatballs every Friday. You don't have to. You just have to understand the ingredients that go into the spaghetti and meatballs and alter them. So this is sauteed. I'm just sauteing onions to caramelize them, because you can develop a lot of flavor with that. One important thing when changing, learning to cook and changing food lifestyle is to kind of be open to learning all of the different ways to develop flavor that doesn't necessarily come from just throwing butter or sugar into something, because that's how a lot of people make something instantly taste delicious. But a lot of flavor development comes from kind of a long time, I guess. It's not even that long. The sugars in the onion are caramelizing, but they're good natural sugars, and it's vegetable sugars, natural vegetable sugars. So these are caramelizing to develop the flavor. Nice and develop flavors and colors. Color means flavor when you're cooking. I think one of the difficult things for people at the beginning of changing food habits are combination foods. And so combination foods means a casserole or a stew or pasta with stuff in it, and soups and all of those things that have so many ingredients in them that you don't exactly know, how much of an ingredient is in the item. One probably efficient and convenient way for someone to start learning about portions of food and how many carbohydrates are in, how many grams of carbohydrates are in a particular food, is to start by having separate, having a protein on your plate, having a vegetable, having a grain, so that you can start visualizing the amount of a specific food on a plate, and innately you will become aware of how many carbohydrates are in a quarter of a cup of rice, so that when you have, let's say, a soup or a stew or a casserole in front of you, you can visualize in the bowl how much of the grain or how much of the vegetable or how much is actually in the bowl or the plate in front of you. One important thing when you're changing your lifestyle is to plan and have meal plans. And a very effective way is to make something like chili or a casserole or something that you have cooked, therefore you know what's in it. And then you can have portions for every single day of the week. You can switch it up a little with a salad, or have but it's really great to have one big pot of something, or one or two things that you make on the weekend or your days off, so that you can not be so worried about what you're going to eat that night, and you might be late after work and have to run home, and that's when people pick things up and end up eating very unhealthfully. So it's really important to think about the week and think about what you're going to be eating. And having large dishes of things is a great way to do that. So let's say you did plan to make dinner for yourself, and you have all the ingredients, and then it ends up not being good, and then you're upset, and then you end up you're like, I'm just gonna go get a hamburger instead. It's probably good to have some backup things, maybe some soups and things that are going to be healthful and balanced, so that you don't just have a default of fast food or something unhealthy. Yeah, but it's also good to just have those things anyway, so that if you don't feel like cooking, you have a healthy can of soup or something. So one of my nutrition teacher's favorite phrases, which is not just about losing weight, but about any lifestyle change, is slow, boring weight loss. That's the only way, not the only way, but it's the most effective way to lose weight, by slowly changing things in your eating habits. And the same goes for just changing, a lifestyle or your understanding about something. You're not going to learn everything all at once, and you're not going to lose the weight all at once. You need to know that baby steps and building blocks are the only way to keep something sustaining, and think about it as a journey instead of this immediate thing. You have to know that there's going to be a learning curve, and trusting yourself and being mindful are two of the most important things for anything in life.